had lost my interest in life. The first thing I tell them is like, you need to fall in love with yourself first. Once you'll feel connected to self, then you'll see shifts happening around in your environment. Like we clean our body every day, we need to clean our emotions every day. We need to unburden ourselves. That's where healing happens. Healing is not just that you went through something huge in your life and then you go to a healer and you take some sessions. Now it has become a need every day for everyday life. You have to become selfish to become selfless.
How would you say that it is coming from inner child being not healed and it is just not the personality? Hello and welcome back to another episode of Holistic Happiness Club, the space where we explore what it truly means to live a fulfilling life. Not just through success and achievement, but through inner peace, emotional well-being, meaningful relationships, mindfulness, purpose, and conscious living. The alignment between your inner peace, inner world, and outer success as well. I'm your host, Akshay Tiwari, and in every episode, we dive into conversations that help you grow, not just externally, but internally too. Let's begin. Hi, Sumit. Welcome to Holistic Happiness Club. How are you?
I'm good, actually. Thank you so much for having me here. How are you doing today?
I'm very well. I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for asking. It's raining outside, Dutch weather, but yeah, all good. Yeah.
Oh, you're lucky we have summers here. So it's too
It
hot
was
here.
supposed to
Yeah.
be summer here, but
Okay.
they said don't trust the Dutch weather. So yeah, that's the case right now. Anyways, looking forward for a great discussion here. For the listeners who are listening to you for the first time, and of course, you are the first time guest on Holistic Happiness Club. So, for the listeners of Holistic Happiness Club, can you please introduce yourself in your own words as who you are and what brings you here?
Definitely. I'm a computer engineer basically, and then what happened is some my life through some challenges, and I had to shift myself from technical field to healings. For the viewers, currently I'm residing in India. I'm in Chandigarh. I'm a mother of two beautiful kids. The work I do is basically life coaching sessions, and I'm a healer. I do different modalities like Ho'oponopono, inner child healing, cord cutting, and I'm a Reiki Grandmaster. So I healed myself, and now my mission is to heal many more, like for facing issues like I face in my life, and I don't want anyone to go through those kind of emotions that I went through. So that's my mission.
Right. All right. So, walk us through your journey as you talked about just now, and we also have talked offline. Walk us
Hmm.
through your journey. You were a software engineer. I am also a software engineer, and you went into coaching. What happened?
Hmm.
So, walk us through that story as well, and tell us the triggering point. What has caused you to shift into coaching and healing?
Yes, definitely. So I did my computer engineering. The first thing that I would love to mention to you is like I was not interested in engineering. My whole family is a family of engineers. Even now, my father-in-law, my husband, my brother, my cousins, my mamus, and all. So,
Born engineers,
that is, yes. So that burden of expectations that at that time that was expected, either take medical or non-medical, right?
right?
So I was good in studies, and a lot of expectations were put on me that I took that to please my parents, basically my father, because I thinking that this would make him happy, right? But I was not happy inside. Later on, I realized if I had taken, arts and done something different, maybe it had been a more fulfilling journey. So a lot of thoughts, but I did it. I did very good in my studies in my engineering, and then I went abroad for my higher studies. As soon as I landed, I was in Canada. I knew this place is not for me. I didn't like the vibe. I'm deeply rooted. in India,
Okay.
and I'm very much attached to my roots. So from there, the journey of anxiety began. And I was there for a good 7, 8 years. I had put on a lot of weight. I constantly kept on telling my parents that I want to come back because of the societal things, like, if a child comes back, what would people think and all those things. So I can now, I'm a mother, I can understand how they must kind of challenges they might be facing at that time.
Mhm.
So I started facing depression, and I was suppressing a lot of emotions, because of which I had hair fall started. I had put on a lot of weight, and a time came and I started talking to myself. I just realized, like, while I was traveling in bus, like, I would go to my university or my college or to my workplace, I was talking to myself and people around me were looking at me, kind of thing.
Right.
That was the kind of anxiety level I was reaching. So one day I just called my father and I had a knife in my hand, and I just, said, like, either call me back or you're going to lose me today. So that's when my father said, wrap up everything, next flight low or India aa jao.
Yeah.
I came back. My father introduced me to Reiki at that time. So I did my Reiki Grandmaster, I did my yoga teacher training program, and acupressure. That those three things, modalities I learned. So things started moving,
So
but
you
then
learned or you went through those first to heal yourself or make yourself better?
wha- the Reiki level one is such when you start learning Reiki. So Reiki level one, you work on yourself.
Okay. Okay.
So once I started working on my, like, Reiki and yoga were the first things. First, I started doing practicing yoga with my father, and then I started learning, going for Reiki lessons. So Reiki level one is all healing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You don't heal anyone else. So
Okay.
that's your body, your mind, everything you work on it. Then my teacher told me that, why don't you learn it? You're doing good, right? So then I took the next step. So you complete level one, you practice for a good amount of time, then
Yeah.
you go to level two, you practice, and then you go for Reiki Grandmaster once you feel that you're ready for
Mm-hmm.
it. So yeah, so that's how my journey began towards healing.
All right. So we'll talk a lot more about it. And you said that you are also a life coach.
It was in 2010 I came back.
Okay. And before that, for 7, 8 years, you were in Canada, right?
Six, I would say six. I went in 2004. So yes,
Yeah.
six
All right.
years.
All right.
Yeah.
So since 2010, you are here, and since 2010, you are practicing Reiki and acupressure, and you are learning and teaching yoga. And when did your journey to life coaching begin?
Yeah. So that's an interesting thing. I was having, that blockage in me that I don't like abroad. I don't like Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you resist something, nature pushes you more towards it. So
Okay.
once I got married, my husband decided to go back to Canada because he was also in Canada before our
Mm-hmm.
marriage. So he said, why not go back there and settle down? So
Mm-hmm.
again, I had to go back there. So I went back, and then again, those series of, one of the other challenges started coming up. My first baby was delivered. I faced a lot of health issues during that pregnancy and delivery. So I had to come back when my daughter was 3 years old. So then I came back. Now, during that time, I started realizing, I noticed elderly women around me, right? Like our mothers, grandmothers, even in our locality, that they invest so much of themselves in their children, right?
Right.
So when the kids grow up, they're not able to let them go to live their life.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes what happens, like, they are empty, they didn't get that love from their
Right.
spouse or their environment, so they invest the whole thing in their kids.
Mm-hmm.
Now when the kids grow up, they are not able to release that hold on them, because of which a lot of families are suffering, right? So I then it came to me that I need to do something, to learn something, so that I don't end up doing the same thing to my kids,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because my husband is abroad and I'm totally taking care of my kids right now. So I'm investing a lot of myself in my kids. I don't want to do that, that when they grow up, all of a sudden I feel that my life is empty. What to do now? And then I'm just, not letting them live their life. So I wanted to build a life for myself, work on myself, and also help other women who have such issues. So that's how I thought of doing it. I started learning more healing modalities, and then I came across life coaching, that there's something called life coaching. So yes, I
Mm-hmm.
did my research, and then went through that coaching certification.
All right. So now you are a life coach and a healer, both. And you are also a
Yes.
yoga practitioner. Also, you teach
Yes.
yoga. So many things, right? So fun question. Which one is your favorite?
Healing, meditation, I just love. When
Okay.
I meditate and I take people through those meditations where
Mhm.
everything, it's kind of, if it's cord cutting or it's inner child healing, it all involves kind of meditations. When I see people crying and releasing those emotions that were stuck in their body for years,
Mhm.
that kind of, gives me a kind of satisfaction that I'm able to do something, I'm contributing in their life, so that is my favorite, yes.
Okay. And so that brings me to my next question that you say that you are holistic coach. You transform lives. You believe in life transformation, not just healing. So, what do you mean by that? What is holistic and what is transformation? If somebody is going through some issue, maybe, right? Some emotional issue, some baggage, or whatever it is, when they think of holistic healing, what they should think, and when they think of holistic, what does that mean to someone who is going through some issues?
Actually, for me, holistic means not wholesome kind of. That's how I perceive it for myself and
Mm-hmm.
for my clients.
Right.
I don't want them to just work on the outer self, right? But the whole aspect of their personality, be it mental, physical, spiritual, emotional. So when I take sessions, that is my purpose, my thing that I want them to transform in every sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because what happened when I was going through that phase, I was losing confidence in my physical looks, right? Like how I there were times in when I was in Canada, I was all alone. I won't look at mirror, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that was not the Sumi that was in India,
Mm-hmm.
right? I was thin. I was like I'm a tall woman. I loved myself at that time, full of life, right? And then all of a sudden, I had lost my interest in life.
Mm-hmm.
When I would look in mirror, I would either cry or I would just, move my eyeballs that I don't like what I'm seeing,
Okay.
basically. That is the physical aspect of it, right? Then the emotional thing, that the suppression, years of suppression of emotions. So that is it. Then your relation to God, universe, like whomsoever people, like
Yeah.
in Hindi, they're Isht Bhagwan, it could be
Yeah.
that also, right? I love when I'm able to build that trust in people, in universe, that you don't need a mediator. Yes, for some time you need, then try, I help them develop that relation with universe, that कि आप उनसे मांगो जो मांगना है, right? So
Right.
that for me, that is the whole holistic approach towards healing.
Okay. And as you said that it is a whole and it is a wide spectrum, and in your modalities are also very wide. You are an energy healer, you are a Reiki Grandmaster, you do meditation, you teach meditation and cord cutting, inner child healing, then there is life coaching aspect, then there is yoga. When someone comes to you, what do you think what they do need the most of them, what do they need, and how do you recognize that, and from where do you start? Or maybe I will rephrase a little bit, because what I'm trying to draw out is, if somebody is going through something, many of the times people don't know whether they are going through something. They usually think it's just a phase, it will pass. Once I'll get this, once I'll get that, once my job is switched, or if I'll get a job, this will be over, whatever whatsoever. They don't know that they need something. So from which perspective they should look at?
Yes, the first thing I want to mention is that right now I'm mostly focusing on women.
Okay.
What happens with women is that they are always giving, right?
Yeah.
So they lose that connection with themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They they're always thinking about others, right? So the first step for me when she comes to me is to make her fall in love with herself again,
Okay.
right? If I talk about myself, For years, I was not even dressing up. I would be in my t-shirts and pajamas all the time, right?
Mhm.
When my daughter was born and I was facing some anxiety issues, I wouldn't even comb my hair for days. That was the kind of things I was going through, right? And then I see the same me in a lot of women,
Mhm.
right? So the first thing I tell them is like, you need to fall in love with yourself first.
Okay.
Once you'll feel connected to self, then you'll see shifts happening around in your environment, right? I'm a big follower of Wayne Dyer. I've you know s- read his books. I have seen. I usually keep on watching his content. So he always says that it's even said in our Upanishads and Vedas that you can't change people. You can only change yourself,
Right.
right? The first thing that I help them shift is that instead of asking all the time that why me, why is it happening to me, shift your questions from why me to how can I, you know,
Yeah.
bring a shift in this.
Okay.
So that is the shift I try to bring in them.
Okay.
So we go through a lot of processes with which I seed it and then I see that plant blossoming, a baby plant, then a plant blossoming. So that's the journey.
Sure. I'll come to self-love and falling in love with the self, but before that, this energy healing or Reiki or healing in general, that is seen from skepticism. Like
Hmm.
many people do not believe it. So, what do you want to say to people who will say that prove it works? Mhm.
These days, a lot of people have this concept that one baby is enough, right? Now, my second baby, I said like it's a manifestation from me. It's something I asked God because my whole family had this thing that okay, one baby is enough, right? So I never talked to my husband and we never discussed it. I was never after him that, why I never questioned him. I only did healings. I only did whatever I know, right? Praying to God or manifestation techniques so that his viewpoint should change,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I was not manipulating him in any ways. They were just my prayers and it happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I would always imagine, like visualize myself, my daughter. I have a daughter first, so my daughter and my husband and a little baby I have in my hands. And we have a new house in Canada and we have a car parked there.
Mm-hmm.
I did, okay, all that I used to visualize. Then my second baby was born. I had forgotten about it. Then we went for 8, 9 months. We moved back to Canada and there was Diwali and we clicked a picture, the family picture, like some family friends and कि आप लोगों की फोटो खींचते हैं.
Mm-hmm.
फोटो खींच के कुछ महीनों के बाद I was just scrolling my phone and I said, oh my God, this I used to visualize at that time, right?
Yeah.
And this is the same picture. Though it's not a baby I'm carrying in my hand, he was 4 years old, he was standing.
Okay.
So yes, these things, energy, work, it is very much there.
Right.
Then when we moved back to Canada, I didn't want to go back to Canada. While we were going to board our plane, like, Delhi ja rahe the, I just again talked to universe. I said, you know that I'm deeply bonded in India. You know that I'm more happy in India. Now you have to do something and bring me back here.
Yeah.
So again, I never told anyone that this is what I want. Just, and then I did my healings, my Reiki, my visualizations. Within 8 months, situations changed. My husband's mindset changed, and he said, it's better you take kids back to India and I'll move back there. So this is about manifestations and visualizations.
Yeah.
Now, I have seen people with, physical problems with years of chronic pains
Yeah.
being healed through these modalities like emotional freedom technique, through Ho'oponopono, where we work on their nervous system. So
Mm-hmm.
this is basically science. It is not some magic that is happening. There's
Yeah.
deep science behind it.
Okay.
So that's how this, I just wanted to give examples to make people understand that these things are possible. And I have such client stories, testimonials. where they have seen these magics happen. We call them magic, but there's deep science behind them.
Let's come back to the topic of self love and inner child healing because for so many, this is kind of a woo woo thing where where they don't know what is happening there and what is actually self love or what is inner child healing. So if you can just shed some light on that, what is it and how does it work? So then we can talk further.
Sure. Now, inner child healing is जो है concept, ये हमारे childhood wounds से आया है. बचपन में हम we go through a lot of things जहां पर हम खुद को express नहीं कर पाते हैं.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, some children, they go through a very toxic environment. They know it, but sometimes even in houses where everything looks normal, children are going through a lot of things. We went through a lot of things where we used to suppress our emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when we grow up as adults, how we can see childhood wounds हैं when we see ourselves people pleasing, always seeking for validation.
Mm-hmm.
We are not able to say no to people.
Mm-hmm.
We end up saying yes,
Okay.
right? These kind of, then there's fear of rejection,
Mm-hmm.
abandonment. So when we see all these kind of things, then we know that okay, there is something in childhood that needs to be healed.
Okay.
Right?
Before we continue, if you have been enjoying these conversations and they have added value to your life, I would really appreciate your support. Please take a moment to subscribe, leave a rating or review, and share this episode with someone who might genuinely benefit from it. And if something in this conversation resonated with you, let me know in the comments or send your thoughts and feedback. I truly read them, and they help shape future episodes of Holistic Happiness Club. Your support helps this message reach more and more people who may need these conversations right now. Now, let's get back to the episode. In psychology, we hear that there are these different type of personalities. So one of the personality is that that person is a people pleaser, or he's a yes man or something. How would you say that it is coming from inner child being not healed, and it is just not the personality? And have you seen the example that somebody who was a yes man or yes woman, people pleaser, and when they did this work of inner child healing, they started to guard their interest better after inner child healing?
Yes. Now, inner child healing is means we take them to their childhood, right? Then they are able to recall those
Mm-hmm.
incidents where they picked up these emotions,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they went unnoticed.
Okay.
As a result, what happens? Things happened, they went unnoticed, but your subconscious mind is registering everything,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, as an adult, when we take them back to those childhood memories,
Okay.
when sometimes in beginning they just we are blank. They say that we are blank. There's
Yeah.
nothing, I can't recall anything.
Right.
But after a few sessions, they are able to recall such small incidents. For example, there was one lady, she said in her class, where I think she was in third or fourth grade, she tried to speak up in front of the teacher and she fumbled and everyone laughed. Right?
Right.
Now, even the teacher, instead of understanding, she also laughed with kids. And then she scolded that you didn't prepare or you didn't revise or whatever the situation was. Now that was registered in her subconscious mind.
Awesome.
So then she said that became a habit. She became scared of, putting up her point in front of people. So when we do inner child healing, when we release through inner child healing, when we release those emotions, then slowly people start opening up. They gain their confidence back, and then since now she's not working, she doesn't have to go and present somewhere. But in families, they are able to put their point in front of their family
Mm-hmm.
rather than suppressing their opinions, their
Wow.
emotions.
Okay. That's a big step. Yep. Please continue. You were continuing with the self-love before I interrupted.
Yes, self-love basically there how you can work on self-love. Now, self-love is I always tell my clients, like, the first thing that you can do is what I shared before, that I was not able to look in the mirror. And I said, like, every morning, stand in front of the mirror and tell yourself, like, I tell myself that I love you, Sumit. I love you the way you are,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Even that takes a while for many people, many women. They say, we don't like doing it.
Mhm.
We don't like looking at ourselves. I said, no, look into your eyes. Keep doing it. Make it a ritual. You have to do it, right? So a simple exercise like this has brought a lot of difference in me. So I see when they start doing it, it brings, I think, huge difference in their confidence.
Okay.
And slowly that, feeling of self-love, it starts popping up, it starts building in them. And so like this, there are a lot of things that we do, a lot of processes and techniques we use to help them. Self-love is not something, it's just to connect, that building that connection back to self. Now, what is that connection? The connection we had as babies.
Hmm.
जब हम लोग बॉर्न हुए थे, हमें कोई जेलसी नहीं थी, एंगर नहीं था, हेट्रेड नहीं था, लो कॉन्फिडेंस नहीं था,
Mhm.
राइट? So just taking them back to that with what they were born. For
Okay.
me, that is self-love.
I have a little counter here, and I'm just trying to play a devil's advocate.
No
I have
problem.
seen a lot of people, they
Hmm.
take this self-love, and I have seen that especially in, not especially, but my small database is limited to Gen Z and many other.
Hmm.
They say that because of this self-love thing, I love myself
Hmm.
the way I am. And I
Hmm.
see that, dude, you need to work on yourself. I can see that. I'm not saying start hating yourself, but don't hide behind the thing that I love myself. That's why I don't need to change myself. It can be physical, it can
Hmm.
be emotional, or it can be any other part of their personality that someone needs to work on. But what will you say to people who hide behind this label that I love myself and that's why I don't need to work on myself, I don't need to change myself?
Now, if you can recall, I just mentioned that I tell my clients to stand in front of mirror and say,
Hmm.
I love, take your name, like I love Sumit and I love you the way you are. Now,
Hmm.
here also this question can come, okay, like we are telling them
Right.
to hide behind whatever they are. No, first of all, a lot of people are not able to accept them, the way they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
So first we try to bring that self-acceptance,
Hmm.
and then gradually we move them towards taking actions to bring shifts in them, right? For
Yeah.
example, like I said, then there's a beautiful thing everyone is talking on net these days, like a gratitude, right? Four
Hmm.
gratitudes, right? 10 gratitudes. Yes, it
Hmm.
works, right? So now, self-love doesn't mean that you don't have to make any changes in yourself. It is like first accept yourself, then you'll start getting clarity. We help them get clarity, like what is, stopping them from doing what they should be doing. So bringing that to awareness. So that is acceptance and then awareness. Now, when people, like you say, Gen Z, when people are on social media and they are listening to it, yes, they are using it for their comfort, right?
Hmm.
But if a person comes to a healer or a life coach, so then they help them that you have to become selfish. You have to love yourself.
Hmm.
Selfish here doesn't mean selfish. It means become
Hmm.
selfish to later become selfless,
Okay. Okay. Can you
right?
explain that become selfless? This self-love also is being misused by many. I'm
Hmm.
carefully choosing the word misused.
Yes.
That because of self-love, I am dressing up this, that I mean, 25% or maybe 50% of the time, I am
Hmm.
engrossed only in myself. I don't care about the whole world because I love myself. It's self-love.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, this is the impact of social media because what this generation is seeing, whatever they are seeing, they are perceiving the world as whatever they see on social media, right? So there it comes the parenting and all those aspects of it, which where their exposure, we need to watch their exposure, and it has become very challenging. Now, this is a totally different topic than, but
Yeah.
self-love doesn't mean just mean like in the beginning I said holistic. It doesn't mean just dressing up. It just
Mhm.
doesn't
Mhm.
mean just thinking about myself.
Mhm.
When I said become selfish to become selfless means you must have heard like apna cup, fill your cup first and only then
Right.
you'll be fill others cups, right?
You
So it
cannot
means
pour from an
पहले आपको सेल्फिश बन के खुद को भरना पड़ेगा,
right.
खुद पे काम करना पड़ेगा, और जब आपको लगेगा कि मैंने खुद को भर लिया, नाउ आई लव माई सेल्फ, नाउ आई नो दैट माई ट्रू वर्थ बेसिकली, right?
Mhm.
When I get them, then I'm able to guide other people, then I'm able to help people. So that is how in healing, when we use self-love, that's the meaning of it. Like khud ko bharo with love, with empathy, with compassion, with kindness, and then only you can, you know, help others.
Basically, self-love is not to hide and not to not work
No.
on yourself, but I think it's
Yes.
the beginning on how you start working on yourself.
Yes, yes. Now, for a person who is hating himself or herself, who's blaming himself or herself, who's always in a complaining mode, right? Now they won't be loving them, means they don't love themselves enough. For them, we use terms like, okay, you need to love yourself. You
Mm.
need to have that self-love. It's not about just dressing up. It's not about just taking selfies or, being good in front of camera or anything. It's basically that soul, it's basically that spiritual journey that we are talking about.
So, hope to people who are listening to this, they will be able to distinguish between these two. That self love, the term itself, is not to hide that, okay, I love myself, that's why, and that is why I do not need to work on myself. But I think it's the contrary, that I love myself, and that is why I would love to
I
improve myself.
I love myself, therefore I'm becoming selfish and I'm taking care of myself.
Yeah, all right. All right. To the listeners of Holistic Happiness Club, I believe a lot of people are office goers. They work in men and women both. So, with the kind of uncertainty that the world is having right now, and even if you remove the world, anyways, if you are in a office going life and you have to manage the personal life and the work life, sometimes people get exhausted and people feel burned out. And in those cases, not cases, or in those areas, how does healing work? And does it work, or do you think it is better than the other modalities of working on themselves? Or what is your take on that? Because with the listeners of Holistic Happiness Club, it is a common theme of exhaustion and burnout. That people, I mean, who go to office, or even, let's say, let's not fix it to something, but in
Hmm.
general, when people feel exhaustion and burnout, especially when they are juggling multiple things, one example can be office life and the personal life. Especially it becomes hassle for women because they
Hmm.
have to dedicate a lot of time to personal life as well, because whereas men can hide, okay, I'm going to office, so maybe I'm not the household things are not my responsibility, I'm doing whatever I can, that's it, right? Especially to women. So this exhaustion and burnout, that is a common theme nowadays with people. So how healing and self-work, self-love, or whatever the modalities that you follow, I do not want to name it anything, or life coaching, how does that help people who are experiencing exhaustion or burnout?
Okay. Now, what happens is that, like, we need to clean our body every day, right?
Mhm.
To take off the dirt and, cleanse our body. The same way we need to clean our mind, because there's a lot of overthinking. Then some people, there's a lot of pressure from boss, then your kids is some. There are a lot of things like for women, even for men, especially a lot of challenges at work. So, like we clean our body every day, we need to clean our emotions every day. We need to unburden ourselves. That's where healing happens. Healing is not just that you went through something huge in your life and then you go to a healer and you take some sessions. Now it has become a need every day for everyday life, right? For whatever
Mhm.
challenges we are facing. For example, emotional freedom technique, right? So
Mhm.
this is a beautiful technique which we use to regulate our nervous system. It calms your nervous system, right? So what happens is that we tap on our body points and then we release those emotions. Right now, these emotions can be years of suppressed emotions, and these can also be something that you face during the whole day. Right.
Mhm.
So, this is how you unburden all those emotions. So that's where the healing can play a big, huge part in managing all these things.
Okay. All right. Now we are proceeding towards the last leg of this conversation. But before proceeding to the last leg, I have one question. That somebody who is listening to this and they know that that they are exhausted, they are burnt out, or maybe they are going through something which they cannot name. They do not know whether it's exhaustion, whether it's burnout, or whether it's clogged up emotions, or it is too much burden of responsibilities and too many things that are going on. Maybe they are not exhausted, but they do not want to do this, they do not want to push through anymore. Maybe
Hmm.
they need healing, or maybe they need life coaching, maybe they need something, but they don't know what they need and they don't know what is possible. What do you want to tell them?
Okay. There's a beautiful exercise we do. It's called brain dumping.
Mm-hmm.
So whosoever is confused, like, what is it that is bothering them and what can they do about it? Take a piece of paper, pen, play some nice music, right? Sit at a place where nobody is going to disturb you. If you have created some corner in your house where you pray, right, or where you do your meditations, preferably sit over there, right? Do brain dumping. Brain dumping means जो भी आपके मन में आ रहा है, जिसकी वजह से आपको एग्जॉस्टेड फील हो रहा है, आप लिखते जाओ, 2 3 4 पेजेस जितना आपका यू फील टिल द टाइम, नॉन स्टॉप आप उसको डंप करते जाओ. बाय द एंड ऑफ इट, on that piece of paper, you will have a lot of things
Mm-hmm.
that you will know that, these are the things that make me feel exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll be able to understand that, yes, I need healing, right? Here also, I would love to mention, for like I earlier also mentioned, if you don't know anything right now, trust me and start doing that mirror work, that mirror exercise that I mentioned,
Okay.
right?
Which is to stand in front of the mirror and say
In
that I
front of
love
the
you and I
mirror,
respect you.
all that you have to say is look into your eyes, that Sumit, like I'm looking into the camera, Sumit, I love you. I love you the way you are. You can even say things like you are beautiful, like whatever challenges. If you feel I'm not beautiful, I'm not confident,
Mhm.
I'm manipulated by other people, I'm confident, I'm beautiful, I'm powerful, right? So 2 3 statements you can add with that. But the basic thing that I want you to is love yourself means I love you, Sumit. बिकॉज आज की दुनिया में बहुत लोग हैं जो लोग घरों में रह रहे हैं बट दे फील अनलव्ड अनहर्ड एंड अनसीन, राइट? तो अगर हमें कहीं और से नहीं मिल रहा है, लेट्स फिल अवर सेल्व्स, हम खुद को खुद भरना शुरू करें.
Okay. And those who are not able to do that, please contact Sumit.
डेफिनेटली.
That's where the guides or coach or the healers come into picture. That if you are not able to do it yourself, you need a guide or you need someone to help you walk through that journey. All right. So that is something I think everyone can do, and this mirror exercise that everyone can do, or this brain dumping that everyone can do, whether or not they feel that they need healing or they feel that they don't need healing, or irrespective of in which point of their life or exhaustion or burnout they are, but they can just follow this process and they can feel better.
Yes, Akshay. I just want to add one thing that once you have done with brain dumping, sometimes there are a lot of things that nobody knows and we don't want anyone to know, right? We
Mm-hmm.
are just, letting out everything.
Mm-hmm.
Burn that paper or tear it off, flush it off. That's how you finish this whole exercise. And with an intention that, I'm surrendering everything to universe now.
Okay.
So that's how you complete the process.
All right. All right, I have a little rapid fire, so that will be the last leg of our conversation. But before that, is there anything which is very important that should be talked about and we haven't talked about?
Yeah, I think we talked a lot about emotions, physical movement. That's also, I think, being a yoga teacher, I would don't want to leave that aside. You don't have to go anywhere, right? You don't have to enroll always for some yoga or some gym. If you can't, please, even if you're facing some physical ailment that you can't do intense exercise, move your body, right?
Okay.
So you can go for a walk, you can play some music in your room and just move your body. And if you are due to some reason you are on bed, you can't do all those things, just up later. So I just wanted to add that physical movement is also very, very important.
Okay. So move how much ever or whatever, in
Yes.
whatever way
Yes, you
possible
can
for
move
you.
the way, like
Yes.
whichever way.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So now it's the time for rapid fire. Are you ready?
Sure.
All right. So energy healing or talk therapy, if you could only recommend one to someone.
I'm a big fan of energy healing.
All right. One word for where most of people are emotionally right now.
Because they don't know what to do. They lot of overthinking and emotions, but
Mm-hmm.
no way to figure out how to release. So a feeling of feeling stuck, like even when you think, why me? मेरे साथ ही क्यों हो रहा है? Kind of. So that
Mm-hmm.
feeling is always, even for working person, they are feeling stuck. They want
Mm-hmm.
to switch job or they want
Yeah.
change in environment.
Yeah.
Women, they're feeling stuck with
Yeah.
situations where
Right.
with kids, and also, yeah, I see that a lot in people.
Okay. And do you think that somewhere social media is also to blame to add to their confusion?
I There was a study where they saw like every next generation till now, till us, every next generation, there was development happening. The next generation was always more sharper, right,
Mm.
than the previous generation, more intelligent.
Right.
Now what is happening, the next generation, it is deteriorating. There's a study,
Okay.
and then that person said, when I did the deep study of the thing, this happened the year when smartphone was introduced.
Oh, okay. Minds are
Started
getting
like
smarter and we are getting dumb and dumber. Okay. A morning ritual that you would never skip.
writing my gratitudes.
Okay. You do that every morning.
Every
Okay.
morning have this even on my table, so you can even purchase some notebook and start writing even, but you can go on Instagram, there are so many people, they're selling these gratitude journals. Get one, write gratitude. We need to be thankful. That is something you can't miss. You need to be in that energy of being thankful to for what you have, to manifest what you want.
Okay. A small question here that is it any better that you're doing your gratitude journaling in morning or in the evening or any other time in the day, or it is just that you do it in the morning, it's person to person?
प्रेफरेबली भी से मॉर्निंग, बिकॉज आपका
Mhm.
माइंड फ्रेश होता है।
Okay.
जब आप पूरा दिन में आप बहुत सारे एक्सपीरियंसेस के थ्रू जाते हो, तो समटाइम्स आपको ग्रेटिट्यूड में आने में आपको टाइम लगता है,
Okay.
बिकॉज आपका ब्रेन बोल रहा होता है कि ये हुआ, कैसे थैंकफुल कैसे हो
Okay.
जाऊं, वो
Okay.
मॉर्निंग में आप फ्रेश होते हो, सो आपका सबकॉन्शियस माइंड, सो इट्स, बट इफ यू कांट, देन यू कांट, देन डोंट
Mhm.
स्किप इट, डू इट वेन एवर यू कैन।
Okay. All right. Most misunderstood thing about holistic healing.
I'll talk about Reiki, right?
Okay.
When I started, people thought इसने कुछ black magic सीख लिया
Okay.
है। It took me a while, even to my father knew because he introduced, but other, extended families and friends, even when I got married in this family, it took me a while. Even today, some people like, क्या करते हो? कुछ magic करते हो, right? Right?
Mm.
So
Okay.
I tell them, even when clients come, they have their own questions, and I have to tell them, please don't trust me blindly. Google करो, go online and check,
Okay.
right? This is all positive. इसे आप negative कर ही नहीं सकते हो. It's all positive energy.
Okay.
Now coming back to holistic, yeah, like you said, for self love, people think that
Mm.
उसके पीछे. So some people say कि ये सब drama है, kind of thing.
Okay.
Only unless and until you won't experience it, you won't understand it.
True. Okay. A healed person, does that exist?
You
What's
are a
your
lifelong learner, and you'll be healing yourself. I think even a coach needs a coach, even a healer needs a healer.
of course. Yeah.
So yes, nobody is completely healed because life will keep on throwing
Right.
challenges, right? The only difference is as a healer and a coach, now I it takes me less time to revive from those challenges.
Okay. If your healing work, or maybe all different modalities that you use, they were a song, which one it will be? Whatever comes to your mind.
Nothing is coming right
Nothing.
now.
Okay. All right.
I'm unstoppable. I love that song. So nobody can stop me
Unstoppable.
from I'm unstoppable. That is my favorite song. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Something you had
I
to,
don't know if it'll fit with that, but I just want to mention that's yes.
something that you had to unlearn to truly heal.
That I have to please everyone. I have to do things to make others happy. Or that's something I had to earn.
Okay. And last moment that reminded you why you do what you are doing.
As I mentioned earlier, there are two things. One thing is for myself, right? It gives me satisfaction. It feels
Mhm.
fulfilling.
Mhm.
Second thing is for my kids. I want you to build, I want you to do something so that
Uh, okay.
tomorrow I
Mm,
don't.
I think this is not the question. I think it went in a wrong
Okay.
way. I asked last moment means, do you remember any, maybe you were
Okay.
working on with some client and
Mm.
they felt good, and because they felt good, because as a coach I know what that feels, that when your client gets a big breakthrough, or that client feels that okay, I have got out of something, and you
Okay.
also feel good as a coach. So when was
The
that?
last such. Okay.
Yeah.
Recently, yes, there was a workshop where we were doing Ho'oponopono workshop, right?
Mm-hmm.
That lady came and we were doing the whole process of healing. When after she cried a lot, and then when after the process we had a conversation, she said her father passed away 7 years back, right? Her father called her, like, on phone that come, like, visit me.
Mm-hmm.
And she told him that, there's something, I'll come tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
She did go next day, but by the time he passed away, she was carrying that pain, right,
Mm-hmm.
for 7 years.
Okay.
And when we did this whole process, she cried and she said, I feel after 7 years, I'm feeling lighter in my body. Because having that guilt for 7 years
Mm-hmm.
was manifesting a lot of physical diseases in her, right?
Right.
She has become overweight and a lot of other things she has been facing. So
Mm-hmm.
I told her, we did a small exercise. I said, okay, that is released. Now we'll do an exercise where I want you to forgive yourself for not reaching on time
Okay.
because you're not
Mm.
forgiving yourself, right?
True.
So that was my last such experience, like recent experience.
Okay. One thing every woman needs to hear right now.
Love yourself.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
And
right.
that's
Yeah, go
about
ahead.
like, I think, yes. Yeah. So it's basically, as I said, like, you have to become selfish to become selfless. You
Mhm.
think that being selfless and serving your family is doing good. But if you are becoming empty inside, serving them, then you are going to, explode one day and everything will be gone. So it's
Right.
better to first, you know, fill yourself and then with that full cup, then fill them.
All right. All right. So someone who is listening from the Holistic Happiness Club and they want to reach out to you for anything, where they can reach out to you, where they can find you.
Yes, that's my Insta handle. I can share that is holistic healings for you. So I think you can even
Yeah, I'll put
Akshay
that in
can
the
provide with
show
you. Yeah,
notes.
right.
But
That's where.
If you can
Mhm.
spell it out so someone who is only listening, they can
Yes, it is
follow.
HOLISDIC, holistic healings, HEALINGS.
Okay.
That's with the S, holistic healings. And four means numerical four,
Okay.
and U. U means only.
Alphabet U. Okay.
Yes,
So that's the best place. Instagram is the best place to reach out to Sumit.
yes.
And with that, we have reached to the end of the conversation. And I hope you have enjoyed this conversation, Sumit. And I think
Amazing.
I hope our
Yes.
listeners also have enjoyed and took something out. And I mean, at least something that can make their day better and that can make their life better.
I
Yeah.
wanted to thank you, Akshay, for
It's
having
my
me
pleasure.
here. I feel honored and giving us a platform where, we can talk about these things and we can love our society, our community.
Hmm.
It's a beautiful thing, and I want to congratulate you for doing this for us. It's not only viewers, but for healers, coaches, and your guests. This is also your, giving us a platform to serve.
Thank
It's a
you.
beautiful thing. Thank you so much, Akshay, and thank you so much for having me here.
It's all my pleasure. And if somebody can feel a little better, I think my day is, already made. Thank you so much for coming here and thank you so much for sharing so many things. And there were so many things actually we can pick one by one and we can try to deep dive and we can try to explore them for those who want to know them better, like self-love and inner child healing and some emotional freedom. You said technique, but I would say that it's an umbrella. There are multiple other things under emotional freedom and gratitude. So yeah, we can pick topics and we can explore them in later episodes. But for now, coming here and explaining yourself and walking us through your journey, your pain points, and how you became a healer and how every healer also needs a healer. And so all those things were very beautiful. I really enjoyed the conversation that we had. And I hope that our listeners also have enjoyed and they learned something meaningful.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Right.
Before you move on with your day, take a moment to reflect on this conversation. Because sometimes one small shift in awareness can completely change the way we experience life. Remember, the goal is not just to become successful, the goal is to become whole. Thank you for spending this time with me on Holistic Happiness Club. I'm your host, Akshay Tiwari, and I will see you in the next one. Till that time, stay well and always remember happiness is a lifestyle.